coming up on this episode of the Spiro Podcast.
And so to really understand where you can take your business, especially in real estate media, when you're attached to a real estate market, you got to understand that market because you don't even know what your opportunities are or could be if you don't understand what's happening in the world around you with real estate.
Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Craig and Craig Magrum.
Hi, and welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro is a business platform, a software platform designed to help you manage and grow your real estate media business. Welcome to a new year. I'm Craig Magrum, your host. If this is your first time watching or listening, hey, we welcome you to the podcast and just hope you get a lot of value out of this. The whole idea behind the Spiro Podcast is to help you build a strong business. So we're going to be talking about a lot of business topics on this podcast. Each and every week, our founder, our owner, and co-host of the podcast, Todd Craig. Welcome to 2025, Todd.
Hey, Craig. It's great to be here. It is fabulous to be back with you all. We took a little hiatus, Craig, didn't we?
We did. We have to practice what we preach. We talk about slowing down, taking time, breathing, right? So we did some of that, took some time with our families, enjoyed the holidays, and now we're back at it.
Yeah, it's exciting. For me, Craig, the 2 weeks in between Christmas and New Year, I took a lot of that off, and I did it somewhat impromptu. And I think I've learned, I knew I was going to be off the Christmas week, but I thought, well, I'm going to check my email, and I should have not set those expectations with myself because I think it was more difficult to work. So, and then the week after, I just concluded, I was like, well, I'm going to take it off. And I didn't plan very well. So just being transparent, I tried to be on, kind of didn't communicate to the team. I boxed the podcast up. That's why we didn't have one, because the team was like, hey, Todd's off today, the WOW team. And Craig's like, oh, shoot, we have a guest today. So sorry, Tyler. So I learned to be a more effective communicator before you go into a hole for a year. Just tell people what you want to do. That was a very silly mistake. So, but I learned from it, and it's a badge of failure that I'll wear and not do it next year.
I'll take ownership in that as well, that I should have been a little bit more proactive in asking questions as well. So if you're unclear on something, it's okay to ask questions, and you probably should, just to don't assume anything. So lessons that we're learning right off the bat here in 2025.
Craig, I think we should go back and listen to our critical communication series.
Yeah, right.
Oh, great. Well, Craig, give me a minute on the clock here, and I'll give you some Spiro updates.
Here we go. We need a clock or a stopwatch sound effect. We have new toys. You might be hearing here in the podcast, guys.
All right. So for updates with Spiro, we have pushed the video hosting with Dropbox new feature. So this is exciting. I know many of you are using it. Basically, what it allows you to do is it allows you to get rid of your Vimeo subscription. We use Dropbox to host and to stream the video files, and we make it very easy for you or your editors to place a video file in Dropbox. It comes right into the property website editor. Also, if you use Dropbox for video hosting, you now have an upload button right in the property website editor, which many of you have asked for. You can click upload, and that goes to a specific folder in your Dropbox that we manage. So streamlining, getting rid of subscriptions, we're excited about that. And we know many of you are using it and having a lot of success with it. Looking forward to the weeks in the future, we are currently working on a new update that between William and I, we're calling the collections ability. This is basically the ability to add a collection of media to a listing page or to an agent or to a company. And this has to do with stock footage, or this could be additional photos that you've taken of a property and the agent bought 25 photos, but you have 10 more good ones, and you're going to try to upsell them with those 10. So they're going to be in a locked collection that you can set a price per photo or a price for the entire collection. So there's going to be some great ways here. The goal with this, y'all, is that we put in features that allow you guys to make money basically while you sleep. So go take stock footage. It's a great thing to publicize. It's a thing that our clients need. Agents need that. Mm-hmm. Put it into collections. Make it available to the agents. They can look at it and they can buy it. And then you're making money. They're checking out right there. They're selecting what they want. Cool thing is you wake up, you see that you had an order, and boom, you just made money and you didn't have to do anything. So I'm excited about this one, Craig.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's all the updates for this week, correct?
That's all I'm sharing for this week. Yes.
I like how you teased that. Folks, that's called a teaser. Get you coming back for more, right? All right. Well, it's a new year. It's a new first quarter here. And we're talking about the business of real estate photography and videography. And one of the things, Todd, that I run into a lot in talking with my clients up here in my market is they're always asking, how's business for you guys? How's your shoots and things like that? And we get talking about the market. What's the market doing? How are the number of listings looking? What's the activity? And we talk a lot of business, and that's a good thing for you to do. If you're only talking about photography with your clients, I would argue that they're probably wondering, are they really interested in my business? Because our whole goal is to help them increase the number of their listings. So we need to get a good pulse on what's going on in the market. And Todd, we've never really kind of discussed how to determine that, or how to engage people, or what to expect. How do we as business owners in the real estate media market learn some specifics on actual market activities? So we have a guest this week that's going to help us talk about that and kind of what to expect maybe in general here in the first quarter of 2025. I'll let you introduce her.
Yeah, so a guest of the podcast that's been on before, and you're going to see her a lot more. Many of you know her. She has helped me and grown and scaled WOW and now Spiro with me. And the thing about this guest is that she just has so much knowledge of the real estate space. So yesterday, she led a webinar that we did about broker deals, and the amount of information that was in this just about the different types of brokerages, traditional, transactional, capping. It's crazy. And all this comes together to make your head spin a little bit, but then that you really understand your business a little bit better, and you understand your client's business a little bit better. And it boils down to a lot of things, but projections. What is my business going to do so I can be ready for it? What are the agent's business going to do? What are the agent's businesses doing so I know what my features and benefits or my sales pitch is to them? So a lot of this, soak it all in today. And we're going to have this individual on the podcast much more. We're going to continue to put out more educational pieces, because this education was instrumental in us growing WOW and understanding the entire sphere of the real estate industry, which is incredibly broad. So without further ado, Shannon Landers, she is our VP of product at Spiro. Shannon, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, guys. Excited to be back. Always good to be with both of you.
We're excited to have you be more a regular part of this, Shannon.
Yeah, I am too. I actually had my husband listen to the first one. He was like, "You did so good." So that made me feel good. So yeah, so I'm ready. Let's have a great year. And just, what I really love to do is I love to see others grow and do well. So if we can help even just one person do that, then this is all worthwhile.
Very cool. Well, okay, first quarter, Todd, you want to kick it off here?
Well, I was going to ask, just before we get to first quarter, Shannon, why are metrics important? Why do you like them so much? Why do we look at them? This is math, and a lot of us are creative, and we're like, math. Should we even bother?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Yes, we are creative, right? But we're running businesses, and unfortunately, math is in business. I think if we all think back to 7th grade when we were well, we were probably all learning algebra. Now they're learning like trigonometry in 7th grade, but whatever. We were like, why are we doing this algebra stuff? And now I look at life and I'm like, gosh, everything is kind of like an algebra equation, right? So X plus Y equals. And so to really understand where you can take your business, especially in real estate media, when you're attached to a real estate market, you got to understand that market, because you don't even know what your opportunities are or could be if you don't understand what's happening in the world around you with real estate. It is your lifeblood as a real estate media company or photographer is listings. Listings is what brings you money. So understanding what that opportunity is, because I know that there's nothing worse than having a goal that's just actually unattainable. Like that does no one any good, right? We talk about SMART goals, things like that. Like you should have an obtainable goal and 100% have a stretch goal. I'm all for it, right? But you have to understand these metrics, the market. Again, you don't need to be able to go explain them to somebody else or anything like that. But you do need to know how to look at what the opportunity is.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that a lot of us are doing or have done, we haven't done it. Wow. We're thinking about 2025 and we're trying to project or think or hope for what the year is going to be. So maybe you're doing 3K a month right now and you want to get to 6K, or maybe you're 20K and you want to build a team and get to 50K a month, or whatever your numbers may be. You're probably looking at what last year was. Where did you end up? If you don't know those numbers, just go into Spiro, click metrics, and it will show you all those numbers. It will show you monthly. It will show you your yearly figures. So now we need to look at those and we need to understand what could be. So a lot of this has to do with, what do you want to do? Remember, a business is an profitable enterprise that ideally works without you, but you have to work in it until you get to that phase. But the business you started for your personal goals. And that's something that we talked about this about a year ago. That is somewhat times tough for me to think about, like, oh, my business is going to do what I personally want to do. But that is why you started your business, because you didn't want to work for a boss you hated, or you wanted to follow a career that you had passion about. You wanted to help people. Whatever your why is, that's why you started your business. So in order to obtain that and work towards that life goal, we need to look at 2025 and what is 2025 going to do? And you need to compare it to 2024. And what the market's going to do, because much like Shannon said, listings are our potential for the most part. If there's a sign in the yard, I hope the agent calls me so I can take the photos and video. That is what we're hoping for. And that is all dependent on what the real estate market does. And the real estate market is the number one driver to the entire economy. Okay, it's the number one thing that drives the economy.
It's amazing how many people don't think about that or understand that the housing. I mean, if you want to remember, just go back to 2008 when the housing market crashed and everything else did with it. So the American dream is truly at the heart and soul of everything we do in our economy. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about it too. Like becoming in real estate, when you actually realize when you help people purchase or sell their largest investment of their life, right? How powerful is that? Like, I really do think, yes, there's crappy agents. Okay. We'll just say it. There are crappy agents. We know this. We deal with them on the other side of our transactions. We get it. But there is a world of amazing agents who work super hard for their clients. And hence why maybe they're a little cranky with you, right? Because they're dealing with their clients. And I've always said, why do we call them consumers? Because they consume the life out of us, okay? and that is just the trickle down effect. But being a realtor, And let me say that really quick to all of you out there. This was something I was corrected on back in 2013 when I started working at a brokerage. And at the moment, I was irritated that I got corrected. But looking back, it was the best thing. It is realtor. It is not realtor. It is realtor. So make sure when you're doing presentations, when you're up in front of people, you use realtor. Because I promise if you say realtor, there's going to be 100 people in the crowd that make fun of you. So just a little nugget there. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yes. Very, very much thanks to a manager at my first brokerage for setting me straight on that years ago.
All the little things we pick up. And it just makes us sound more relevant, like we understand our clients.
Yeah. Right. And that's what this is about, right? And not only and we'll get to this stuff, but this is an opportunity for you as a photographer to maybe have coffee with a broker, an owner, and say, hey, explain to me what's going on in the market right now. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing rumors. Tell me. And they're going to find that just because you're interested in understanding their business, that is going to create more likability and trust.
Exactly. Yep.
For sure. So with knowing, Shan, that the real estate industry is the number one driver of the economy, and we're trying to understand as business owners, as real estate media business owners, what should we think about for 2025? Maybe this is the year we can make the same amount we did with the job we quit. Maybe this is the year we can quit our job, or maybe this is the year we hire a team member. What can we expect? What does 25 look like in the real estate industry compared to 24?
Yeah, this is so exciting to talk about. So, and I'm going to take a little bit of a history road with this.
Please do.
Yeah. So at the height of 2022, as we thought, especially with COVID in 2020, and we thought the market, we're headed down, here we go. And then we kind of bounce back up because now people are working remote and they can work anywhere. And so the people are moving. So we ended up, at the height of 6.6 million houses sold, I think was the number in 2022.
Wow.
Roughly. So highest amount of houses we've ever sold in the 70 years we have records, right? And then here comes the middle of 2022, that was the end of 21. And here comes the middle of 2022. And all of a sudden we see it. We feel it in the industry. We just see it start going down and down and down. And the main reason being is what went up, interest rates, right? Mm-hmm. As we're trying to correct inflation, the biggest lever they like to use to correct inflation is interest rates. So, and those just kept going up, up, up. Now you couple that we've had previously a 10-year low of interest rates, right? 51% of people out there with mortgages have a 4% interest rate or lower, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just going to tell you guys all right now, and this didn't come out of my mouth. This came out of Gary Keller's mouth on stage. We will probably never see 4% interest rates again. So just get over it now, deal with it, swallow that pill and move on. Okay. So we have moved on, and what we've got down to in 2023, we got down to 3.8 million houses sold. So almost half, right? Half. So you guys might have noticed, you're seeing a lot of agents over the last couple of years that left the market, or newbies that didn't get going. Well, because we had 1.5 million real estate agents and the market got cut in half. So that is really honestly a very normal cycle of real estate agents. And you got to know the market cycles typically every 7 to 10 years. That is a very normal cycle of the market. So what goes up must come down, and what goes down must go up. That is the way of the world. So now we end 2024, and we're probably going to be roughly about 4.2 million houses sold. So we've seen, we've gone down, and we see now we're going up. Okay. So now the prediction for 2025, and by the way, all this stuff is online. You guys can go to the National Association of Realtors website, and you can do all this research yourself. Now, I am very happy every quarter to deliver this to you. But you can have, all of this is available to you. You can also go to your state board of realtors. So like ours is ohiorealtors.org. So whatever state you're in, check out your local information. And then you can even go to your local board and get housing statistics. So all of this is online. But we're predicting about 4.5 million houses sold in 2025. So then what do we see? We see we're going from 3.8 to 4.2 to 4.5, right? So we are on our way back up, which is a wonderful thing. Now, that is a national number of existing home sales that we target should hit, is that 4.5 number. And honestly, if we took back and went back to all the historical information, 4.5 is about normal.
All right.
Yeah.
So the market, is normalizing. And I promise what it's not going to do is bust, guys. The market's not busting. There's no housing bubble. Yes, prices have increased, but inventory is still not high. So we can break into some of that stuff. But that's what we'll see for 2025, at least from the economists. That these very smart people that get paid a lot more money than I do to create these numbers. So, they're the smarter people in the room. That's what they're predicting. They're also predicting another rise in 2026. So I think that's what's nice. They're saying we're going to go, up about 11% next year and then another 8% in 2026. So I think we're headed in a really good direction.
That's interesting. So if you're out there listening, and just one thing to preface this is that this is U.S. data.
Canada trends with us. What I will be able to provide on the next call is I will have data from the Canada market. So I will be able to provide in our next quarter call the Canada and U.S. market information.
Awesome. So looking at this, though, if you're an international listener, don't turn us off right now, because we're going to tell you how you use this data, and you'll just have to go get your own data. Like Shannon and I realized something yesterday when we were doing the webinar. Tebow was like, hey, we can't do a lot of our brokers don't want to eat the cost of the media because only 30% of listings actually sell. I was like, really? Like, yes. Only 30.
Yeah, I am so excited to research that market, Todd. I'm going to dive in because I am like, that would be exhausting.
Wait, which market is that?
He said the French market.
The French market.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So look at your market, see what it's going to do, and then you can use these same tactics. So let's just say no matter where you're at, if it is a pretty much flat market, listings are about what they were last year. They're going to be up a little bit from a general whole. Now, I would suggest that you go to your state or local agency and see, because there's factors. When you think about it, there's factors that affect those numbers. And knowing that, you don't want to zig when you should zag. Like if your market actually is going up a ton because you have a lot of people in industry and people moving in, you might need to prepare a little bit differently, or vice versa. So in knowing that the industry is going to be about the same, we're going to see a lot of what we did last year as far as listings. And agents that you can call your clients are going to get about the same amount or maybe a few more. The further we get away from everybody expecting a 4% interest rate or lower, like I'm at 2.25% on a 15-year loan. It's like, and everybody who is in that, like I'm never moving. Like I'll literally I'll build a house on top of mine before I move.
Or you'll have to wait till the equity reaches a point that it makes sense. And that's what's kind of happening. And so since we're kind of on the interest rates, let's just talk about that, right?
Yeah. Can you explain? So the equity interest rates, will they even out? What's that math problem look like, Shannon?
Yeah. So essentially, first interest rates, we're predicting that they will balance out around 6% this year. We're not going to see probably too many crazy drops, just because we still are dealing with some inflation, and even with the change in the politics, like them or love them or hate them, we're still kind of in this flux. So the Fed's not going to start dropping interest rates crazy, but they do predict that we'll end up kind of hovering around 6, which, mind you, the 50-year average of an interest rate is 7.2. Okay. Mm-hmm. So again, 6 is a very normal interest rate. And if we end up landing there, then that's really where we want to be. That is a very healthy interest rate. Okay. So what happens is over time, as you build equity in your home, right? You've paid down your mortgage, you're getting down there. Of course, prices have increased year over year. We're still looking at some prices increasing, not as drastically high as years prior, but we're still going to see probably a 2% increase in prices over the next year, and then another 2% after that. Okay. Again, a home or a house is always a great investment. Okay. Yes. Always a great investment over time. So when you build equity and say you have, you bought your house for $300,000, you only owe $200,000, and now that house is worth $350,000. Now you have $150,000 of equity that you can take and put in as a down payment on that next purchase. So that kind of makes those interest rates not seem as scary, right? Mm-hmm. If you bought a house last year and you need to sell it, or let's say you bought a house in 2020 and the interest rate was 3%, and in 2021 or 2022 you had to sell it and the interest rates had gotten to 7%, that's going to hurt, right? That's painful, and so what getting to a 6% interest rate does, and as equity builds and prices still kind of increase a bit, that gives people the ability and the freedom to move if they want to, right? Mm-hmm. When the D's happen, do you guys know what the D's are?
Oh boy, I
no idea.
I'm just careful about this one, Shannon. I'm just gonna.
We're talking divorce, right? We're talking death, unfortunately, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about when families grow or they're downsizing, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the things that, affect people purchasing, unless you're Warren Buffett, you're not like out there buying houses for the heck of it, typically, right? Like,
True.
Definitely there's a lot of other people that can go do that. But typically what we say in real estate, especially due to some of these math equations, when is the best time to buy a house? When you need to. Mm-hmm. When's the best time to sell a house? When you need to. Okay. Because over time, if you're sitting there trying to wait and say, oh, the market's going to crash and we're going to get, a cheap house. Well, guess what? By then the interest rates have risen and you're not saving any money. So, and prices have increased. So even if that just doesn't work. We see it, over time, that doesn't work.
My financial guy says the same thing about investing. It's like, oh, Ryan, should I put it in now? He's like, just I'm not looking at it. You're not trying to flip it in 6 months, Todd. You want to retire in 30 years. Yes, mm-hmm. Put it in. I'll handle it and make sure that you're taken care of. But if you have money to invest it now. So that's the biggest thing. One other quick point I wanted to make, Shannon, and correct me if I'm wrong, but buying and or selling, mainly buying because then they have to sell if you own a house, all those numbers come down to one thing, and it's binary. Can we do this or can we not do that? It's monthly payment, right, Shannon? Yeah. That's what it comes down to. We need an extra bedroom. The house costs this. Somebody do the math for me. Can I afford that monthly payment?
Absolutely. And I actually urge people to look at monthly payment. Just, don't look at it overall. Here's the thing. If you've bought a house, when you're signing the hundreds of pieces of paper that you have to sign at the closing table, right? Have you looked at the amortization table and have you looked at what you would pay overall for that home? It's a scary number. You're like, wait a minute, I bought a $300,000 house, but I'm going to pay $450,000, right? Like it. And here's the thing. Most people only live in that house, especially their first house, 7 to 10 years. Over time, you're not paying that amount, right? Things are going to happen. Life is going to happen. You might refi, you move, right? So, over time, the interest rates, honestly, they matter, but they don't matter. And meaning too, that there's multiple ways to purchase homes. So, there are still ways to get into a low rate for 5 years and then refi again. You can always refi. We always say, date the rate, marry the house, right? You marry the house and you might date the rate, and you might do different things to do that. So this forecast, to me, I'm excited about this. We have seen in the last 2 months, existing home sales percent year over year, so month to month. So saying December of 24 to December of 23, we have seen home sales increase for November and December. And what that means is that we do feel we're over the hump, and we're over this little hump that we had in real estate, and we're projecting that those steady increases in home sales will happen, which means more listings on the market to get jobs for, to meet new agents, to work with them, provide them other services. So that is really all good news on the 2025 front. In summer of last year, we still were unsure what would kind of forecast out in 2025. There was about 3 different scenarios. So I think we all feel pretty comfortable now that home prices will tick up. Now, what could happen is this kind of bump back up in real estate could bring more agents in too. So that is something else to think about in the reality of all these things that matter, is that we saw a reduction in agents, which quite frankly we needed. And then now as the market starts swinging back up, you're going to see people, especially the companies that sell real estate classes, kick up those ads and try to bring more agents back into the business.
Yeah, that makes sense. So good news for all of us real estate media company owners and businesses. We have a little bit more potential, but we're heading in the right direction. And so Shannon, maybe let's take this from how do you talked about a couple segments of realtors. You just talked about new agents potentially coming in, and we have established agents, and then we have what we call our VIP clients. So clients that do a lot with us, and we can expect more new agents in, and it might take them some time to get listings. It might not if they're really connected in their community. We saw that a couple years ago when everybody got in COVID, and that really, that spread out the listings among agents. How would you think about those segments of agents right now? If you're a media company business owner, what would you focus on, Shannon?
I always think it's a good idea to make sure new agents know who you are, right? So, because if you can get them from the get-go, that's just easier, right? If you provide them that great service, you're not fighting for their business later. Of course, you don't know what that new agent will eventually be. Will they stick it out? Will they make it? This is a 90% fail rate in their first year as an agent.
Wow. Wait, explain that, Shannon. What does that mean? 90% fail rate.
So let's just say 1,000 new agents join in a month. A year later, 900 of those will be gone.
Wow.
So I have to tell a quick story. Earlier this year, one of my clients, we were going into a house. I was getting ready to shoot it, and he stopped on the front porch. He turned around and looked at me. He said, "Craig, have you ever thought about being a realtor? You have a really good way with people. I think you'd make a really good realtor." And I just kind of grinned. I said, "Rob, I thought about it for about 2 minutes when I first got into this business, and I decided, no, I'm going to stay a photographer. I've seen what you have to deal with." With that 90% stat, yeah.
Well, and often, and I think this is so great because I think this correlates with being a real estate photographer in a company. And once real estate agents are entrepreneurs. They are independent contractors. They are taking this on. They are not getting paid hourly from the brokerage. They are not employees. You have to self-sacrifice all the things, which is all the things you have to do as a real estate photographer, right? You're an independent contractor. You're opening your own business. You're doing all the same things. So a lot of similarities in that. And what we see is accountability goes out the window. It's very hard to keep yourself accountable, especially if you've been an employee for years and years and years, and then you have to switch gears, and now there's nobody telling you to clock in at a certain time, or, put this work in or hit these deadlines. And so it's why coaching is actually so important in these spaces, because you just need somebody to help keep you accountable. And it's typically very hard to do that by yourself. So whether you get an accountability partner, I think we talked about this in Vegas, like we see groups of people kind of keep each other accountable to what they're doing. And I think that's great. It's hard to grow without somebody kind of pushing you. Now, some of us have that drive inside, and that's okay. I am an A-type personality, if anybody hasn't figured that out by now. Very A-like, and I'm typically very self-driven. But I do feel as I get older, I see that drive decreasing just because I'm tired.
Yes.
So it's very similar. So I think, new agents are great to get in touch with. I wouldn't spend crazy amounts of time, like awareness with them, right? Making sure they know who you are, especially if like a brokerage has you in a lot. Like they typically have new agent classes. Teach one or attend one. Say, hey, can I come in and just meet your, they'll do an orientation with new agents. Be a part of that. Maybe at that point, it might not be a listing that you get. Maybe you do headshots and you can do headshots for them. Speaking of that, just doing headshots, if you're like headshots and you can do it, and there's a brokerage you want to partner with, maybe go and set up headshots every other month that you do for them and charge a nominal fee. So that there's ways to kind of make sure that you provide some value to those people, and then they know and like you. Right now, I would be focusing on teams. So we've seen teams explode in real estate, right?
Yeah.
And a big reason why is, who wants to be a broker? A broker bears all the responsibility, right?
True.
Yeah. So you can be a team leader of a team and operate a very large team, and kind of to your point, Todd, end up maybe being out of the business and watching your business flourish. And that's very appetizing to a lot of agents. They do want to grow a big business and then be kind of on the outskirts of it. So I would say teams are a great resource. One, because they focus on listings. If you have a team, you have to get listings, because listings create babies. They create more listings. They also create buyers. So if you're carrying the inventory, buyers see your inventory, and that typically brings buyer leads too. So I like focusing from the top down, and that kind of helps you do that with the teams. And it could help you get in with the brokerage easier too.
Can I jump in on that real quick? It's interesting that you brought up the teams issue, because Todd, you and I have spoken a lot about, well, you as well, Shannon, about broker deals. And one of the creative ways of partnering with a brokerage is suggesting to them that they pay for their agents' photos, right, as a recruiting tool. We've talked about that. Well, I just ran into that at the team level. I just signed on a new team this week, and the team leader is doing the same thing. She's fronting a certain amount of money for photos for the other agents on her team. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time I've ran into that in my market. So you can take that idea of the brokerage level of, the broker paying for photos, and you can introduce that idea to teams to help team leaders attract more realtors to their team.
Absolutely, because they're trying to grow and provide value too. And Spiro, what I love about Spiro, sorry, I am going to drop some Spiro stuff really quick. Yeah. I am the VP of product for Spiro. So I'm going to drop a little bomb. What I love is the account manager aspect in Spiro with teams, because typically a team is going to have a director of marketing, and they can be the account manager for all the agents. And then the rest of the agents, it's such a benefit to kind of showcase that. So sorry, just dropping a little thing that I love about teams. And you're going to see more teams. We see this in the industry. Teams are kind of the future, because again, they don't want to be a broker. They don't want to have ownership. They can build a big team and still be very successful at many brokerages and not bear all the responsibility. So we will continue to see this kind of formulate out in the market.
It's so interesting. It just hit me because I'm slow, but this is no different than what we are doing at our own business, right? We have started, and once you get your business going, you're going to hit a point, and trust me, you're going to hit a point where like, I'm kind of done shooting houses.
Yes, you will.
you will, but you're like, I really like to connect with agents. Or I'm done shooting on 2 days a week or 1 day a week, whatever it is. But you're going to get to the point that there's going to be some other things that you want to focus on. And you're going to hire photographers and you're going to say, hey, we've got this great thing where you can be creative. We'll supply your equipment and we'll give you jobs when you need jobs. You'll get paid. You don't have to edit. All the sell points of why we try to get people to come in and be photographers at our company. That's the exact same thing that these top agents are doing. They're getting a little tired.
Yes.
They don't want any buyers.
They don't want to, they want no buyers. They don't want to be out at night showing houses out on the weekends, right? They want to go to those listing appointments, get those listings, and let the team handle it. Todd, it is extremely insane how much we correlate. Again, business is business, sales is sales. But when you're dealing with something that typically is that kind of that independent contractor status, and then you build a business, it all is very similar. And I think that's important to really focus in and let agents know, hey, I'm doing what you're doing, right? Like let a team leader know, hey, I'm doing what you're doing. I'm building out a team. Like they get excited about that. These guys are entrepreneurs. They're like you. They love this stuff. They get excited. So, sharing that knowledge, sharing the heartaches and the pain points. Agents are real people at the end of the day, and they'll really appreciate just the realness and the rawness of saying, hey, this stuff can be hard, Yeah. But when you get it going right, man, is it beautiful, and does it provide you the things you need?
Yeah, and for all of you out there that are saying, hey, my agents only expect me. Your agents are doing the same thing. Just be honest with them, like Shannon said, and be open. Hey, I'm building a team. I think that's such a fabulous angle to take from it, to correlate that to them so that they connect with you and they go, oh yeah, I did the same thing. Like, I don't want any more buyers. I don't want to show houses at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday or a Saturday.
Oh my gosh. We were showing houses at midnight when we were in the crazy, when we got down to, in Dayton, Ohio, we got down to like 500 listings on the market.
In all of Dayton?
Insane.
In all of Dayton. And to put this in perspective, when I got in 2013, we had 6,000 houses on the market.
Wow.
We went down to 500, guys. I thought agents were going to chew each other's heads off. It was very unhealthy. You'd have 40 cars show up at an open house or even showings, and there was nowhere to park. And it's unhealthy for the buyer. It's even actually unhealthy for the seller. Can you imagine trying to go through 30 offers?
Oh,
and that's what was happening. So what we're getting to, I think, is what I'm going to call like the summer of 69 or something, the season of love in real estate. We're all going to love each other again and work together, because there are two sides to every transaction. You have a list side, you have a sell side. You've got to partner together. Realtors, they're there to help make home connections. We're like, relationship connections. That is what we do. And so I'm looking forward to, I believe, what will be a smooth out of the industry. The other thing that is almost behind us is these lawsuits as well. So these lawsuits are pretty much all fine. Like, we're finalizing, knowing what paperwork we have to do. And again, a reminder to all that are out there that maybe didn't read the real news on this. The lawsuits were not about commission. The lawsuits were actually about transparency around the commission. Mm-hmm. So it had nothing to do with agents overpricing, nothing of their commission. There is no standard commission. We typically see a 6% list fee but that is always negotiable. Always. It has been since the beginning of real estate. Everything is always negotiable. So what we're going to see with this transparency of these buyer commissions that are being paid, I think is a very healthy thing. I think when consumers can understand a little bit more of how things operate, I think that's actually always a good thing for us. So we're seeing all this stuff kind of smooth out. We know what we have to do now. Things are behind us. Unemployment still low. That's a really good thing for us too, with unemployment still being low. So it's good. And there's some hot markets. So before we end, maybe we'll end with that. I've got the hot market list of city for the U.S. for 2025. So we'll be able to people. Yeah, there we go.
Drum roll. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. All right. So your top 10 housing hotspots for 2025. If you are in Boston, be excited. So that's Boston, Cambridge, Newton, Massachusetts, New Hampshire. Those areas, they're seeing hot stuff. Todd, you're going to love this next one.
Oh, yes.
Charlotte. If you are in Charlotte, Concord, Gastonia. Well, you know I love Gastonia. North Carolina and South Carolina, guys, you are looking for some hot markets. In fact, if you're in the South, that makes up 45% of our sales last year. So that's a really incredible number. Okay. If you're in Grand Rapids, Kentwood, Michigan, congratulations, Grand Rapids.
All right.
Again, back to South Carolina, the Greenville, Anderson area. So I believe Greenville's just right over, isn't that just right over the border? Or I feel like, of North Carolina. If you're in Hartford, Connecticut, Middletown, Connecticut, you're in good shape. This next one does not shock me. Indianapolis, Carmel, Anderson, those areas. Typically always hotbeds anyway, but you're doing good. Of course, the Midwest is always kind of insulated from highs and lows. Guys, remember that we don't see as much fluctuation. Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas. Congratulations. Knoxville, Tennessee. Phoenix,
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler in Arizona. And then, of course, a beautiful city, if you haven't been, get there, San Antonio and New Braunfels. You guys are looking for a nice 2025 in hotspots. So, again, a lot of this will fluctuate just based off interest rates. So for some reason, something happens, pay attention. And remember that this stuff is so local. I cannot say that enough. You've got to get into it's neighborhood to neighborhood even that you see trends. So get with your VIPs, take one to coffee, say, hey, can I pick your brain and understand what's going to happen in our market, what you're going to forecast, what you're seeing. They love to talk about that stuff anyway, and that'll help make a good connection.
Todd and Shannon, let me pick your brain on one last thing as we get ready to wrap up here. So with this first quarter 2025 forecast of a little bit of a bump in inventory and things like that, what between the two of you, can you give us, say, 3 action steps that we as real estate media owners should take for our business here in the first quarter to get ready for the rest of 2025? What are the top 3 things based on this information they should act on?
I'll give one, Shan. This is regardless of what the market is. You need to build as many relationships with your clients as possible because they see potential in the market. So when I took that data in from Shan, I thought, what are our agents thinking right now? So they have confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yes, confidence is up.
Confidence is up, which means they'll spend money. They also understand that there's competition, which means they need to be different. So I'm building those relationships. I'm explaining what our products and services do so that I can begin to count on that agent, and then they become a raving fan and I get referrals. So relationships, I know I gave a few more things in there, but we're doing that at WOW right now. We are building relationships like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you haven't planned some goals this year, get that done by January 31st, right? So get some goals down and then go and research your market and see what the listing forecast looks like. and say to yourself, I want to capture 2% of this, 3% of this, and know that those are good numbers. Don't think, especially, I think what Charlotte carries 80,000 listings a year. I can't even remember.
Number,
wow.
It's a huge number. So if you were going to try to say, I want 10% of those, it's probably unattainable. Okay. That'd be 8,000. I mean, that'd be awesome. Yeah. But Todd does it. Todd's been in Charlotte a long time and he doesn't even have that much market share. So because it is so big. Okay. So just think about that. Hey, I know that my city carries 20,000 listings a year. I want to make sure I get 500 of those. Because that is, that's a doable number for you. So definitely making sure that I would set a task to go understand my market. And some of that can be go get in relationship with people and understand my market, to understand what my opportunity is, and then how I can go forward and make a plan to reach out to the people, right? Because everything is a math. Do you want 500 listings and you divide that out, say the average agent carries 7 listings a year, right? I'll say 10 for easy math. That's 50 agents. And to get 50 agents to use you'll probably got to reach out to 100 agents, right? So everything is a math correlation. Again, love it or hate it, that is how it is. So go ahead and figure out these math equations so that you can go forward and be able to hit your goals respectively.
Yeah, Shan, that sounds like our next webinar with how to do. We should take some numbers, because the other thing that comes with a math equation is when your number of jobs go over a certain amount, you need to hire. So we see that a part-time photographer does 400, a full-time does 700 to 800 in general. If your numbers are tipping over some of those barriers, you need to hire. How do you hire? Then what does that mean from an admin standpoint? And that pushes everything up, which is great. You just need to be prepared for it, because I've tried it before without doing it, and I thought I'm going to do it all myself, or I just didn't realize at the time, quite honestly. And working 16 hours a day becomes not fun very quickly, even if you are making money.
Yeah, you learn real quick that way that money is not the end all to be all when you do things like that. So, and it just all comes down to, guys, you got to have a plan and you got to have a purpose, right? I continue to read books, and I suggest everybody to at least try to read a book a month. It can be overwhelming, but read a book a month. And the one I'm kind of still, it's taken me 3 months to kind of read it just because of the holidays. Is How to Live Your Best Life Now, right? Like how to be your future self now, and having hope and purpose, that creates everything for you. So, without hope, we can't move forward. And whether you're spiritual or religious, both of those teach you that, you have to have a why and you have to have a purpose. So planning and doing all those things is going to help you reach that. And remembering that, if you're not uncomfortable, you're probably not growing.
Yeah, that's a hard one, but it's good.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So we said it on the webinar yesterday. We were talking about it, and we have a bold saying here at KW is, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
So sometimes being uncomfortable means you need just someone to talk to. You need someone to reach out to. Now, we are happy to hear from you. We love hearing from you. In fact, that wasn't phrased very well. So you can comment wherever you're watching this from. If you're on YouTube, you can comment below. It's great there because there's a community in there. We also have the Spiro Super User Group. That's a private group. Search for it, and you'll gain access for that. We have great discussions in there
on Facebook.
And
just
on Facebook, yes, thank you. On the on the Facebook.
Make sure that you put just Google or put in the search bar Spiro Super User Group, and then you'll see it. Request access, and we'll get you in there. Todd and I are a little delayed sometimes on getting you in there. We will make a plan to be better at that in 2025. We'll get you in there.
Yes. And then finally, you can always email hello@spiro.media. You can say, hey, Todd, hey, Shan, hey, Craig. And many of you are doing that. the team in there that goes into our inbox where the customer support team is. They'll read it if they can help you right then. If it's a Spiro or a question, they can get you answers. But we will get to you. Just give us a little, be patient with us in that inbox. You will hear back from us. There might be some time that goes. If it's urgent, we'll get it to the right person. But if it's just a question or a thought for the podcast, we always love to hear from you.
Right. And speaking of that, if you do have a question for the podcast, business related, that you'd like to see us cover, we'd love to hear your ideas, because we want to provide content that's relevant to you and your business and what's going to help you improve your business. So again, email us hello@spiro.media.
Yeah. And, I think another great idea is I'd be happy. I know a lot of great people in this industry, and we can even bring a couple of them on as guests and let them talk.
For sure.
They would be more than happy to do that. I bet I could get our OP to probably hop on here and give us some great information too. So
that'd be good to have her on. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be good. And again, hearing from many people's perspectives is always good to then formulate what you want to do.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Shannon, thank you. Thank you for all the data. We love it.
Yes,
it's so helpful.
Pleasure. Yeah.
And all of our brains are going to rest now.
Well, I'm getting prepared for another snowstorm. So I have a foot of snow on the ground, and I'm getting ready to get 5 more inches. I'm not sure where we're going to start putting this stuff. But my kids are out of school again and happy. So there we are. And again, my Buckeyes play tonight. So I know once this is recorded, that game will be over. So I will be praying by the time this podcast comes out, we are playing in the national championship. So
let's hope.
Go Buckeyes. I-O. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. But we're excited. So no, thanks again for having me on, guys. Anytime. I love this. And again, guys, we'll be doing this at least once a quarter, giving you a market update.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for joining us for this inaugural podcast for 2025. So glad that you joined us. If it's your first time joining us, we're so glad to have you on here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notifications on the next podcast episode that launches. We typically try and launch these on Tuesdays, just so that you're aware of that. And again, if you have a comment or a topic idea, please leave us either a comment on the YouTube channel, or you can email us hello@spiro.media. And if you found this beneficial and you've got some friends in the industry, we invite you to share it, like it, all that good stuff. So thank you. We just appreciate the opportunity to be able to be a part of your business life and speak into your business. So, all right, with that, we're going to close things up. We will be back next week. We've got another special guest that will be joining us, and we're excited to hear from him. So stay tuned. In the meantime, make sure that you take some time here at the beginning of the year to be thankful for the blessings in your life, and still take a breath, especially before the spring market heats up. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and Wow Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.